In May 2019, someone posted a single photograph on 4chan. No context, no explanation. Just a photo of a large empty room, yellow walls, wet carpet, fluorescent lights humming at maximum buzz, and a caption that read, "If you're not careful and you no-clip out of reality in the wrong areas, you'll end up in the backrooms, where it's nothing but the stink of old moist carpet, the madness of mono yellow, the endless background noise of fluorescent lights at maximum hum buzz, and approximately 600 million square miles of randomly segmented empty rooms to be trapped in. God save you if you hear something wandering around nearby, because it sure as hell has heard you." That post has since generated 8 million monthly searches, a viral YouTube series with 200 million views, and a major A24 horror film released in 2026. The question isn't why the Backrooms became famous. The question is why a photo of an empty room terrified millions of people who had never been there, and why most of them described feeling like they had. Because the answer isn't supernatural. It's neurological, and it reveals something deeply unsettling about the way your brain constructs reality. Let's start with what the Backrooms actually are, and why the original image worked so well it shouldn't have. The photo was taken in 2002, inside a furniture store in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. Someone was documenting a renovation. The image sat completely unnoticed on the internet for nearly 2 decades. Just a blurry snapshot of an unremarkable commercial interior. No monsters, no blood. No threat of any kind. Just yellowed walls, aging carpet, and the particular quality of light that fluorescent tubes produce when they're the only thing in a room. When it was posted on 4chan in 2019, something happened that nobody predicted. People didn't just find it unsettling. They found it familiar. Comment after comment described the same experience, the sense that they had been in that room before, that they knew what it smelled like, that they understood, on some level they couldn't articulate, exactly how it felt to be trapped inside it. A furniture store, renovation photo from 2002, had somehow described a universal human experience that nobody had ever put a name to. That's not a coincidence. That's neuroscience. Here's what your brain is actually doing every time you walk into a room. Before your eyes have finished processing what's in front of you, your brain has already built a model of it. It pulls from memory, from pattern recognition, from every similar space you've ever occupied, and it generates a prediction, a complete internal simulation of what this room should contain, how it should sound, what it should feel like to move through it. This process happens so fast and so automatically that you never notice it. The prediction and the reality merge seamlessly, and you just experience the room as normal. But the Backrooms image breaks that process in a very specific way. The space is familiar enough to trigger the prediction. Your brain recognizes the carpet, the walls, the lighting. It starts building the model. It expects context, furniture, people, exits, the ordinary objects that tell you where you are and what this space is for. And then it finds none of those things. The prediction fires and returns nothing. The model has no anchor points. And your brain, faced with a familiar space that contains no information about what it's supposed to be, does something very specific. It flags danger. Psychologist Veronica West describes it this way. The brain is constantly scanning for threats. When it encounters something that looks familiar but feels wrong, the amygdala, the part of the brain that processes fear, activates immediately. Not because there's something threatening in the room, because the room itself has failed to provide the information the brain needs to feel safe. This is what neuroscientists call an uncanny valley of space. Most people know the uncanny valley as a concept in robotics, the eerie discomfort you feel when something looks almost human, but not quite. The same mechanism operates in physical environments. A space that looks almost like a normal room but is missing the contextual cues that make it readable triggers the same deep wrongness. The familiar becomes threatening not because of what's there, but because of what isn't. The Backrooms image is almost perfectly calibrated to produce this response. The carpet, the walls, the lighting, all of it reads as deeply ordinary. And the complete absence of any human element, any purpose, any exit, any reason for the space to exist, that's what produces the dread. Your brain is trying to place you in a context it recognizes and failing completely. Environmental design researcher Meredith Banasiak puts it more precisely. Our neurological framework for memory is structured around changes in space, time, and events. Physical boundaries help us organize experience, A doorway tells your brain that one chapter is ending and another is beginning. Liminal spaces, transitional zones that exist between one defined place and another, are where that organizational system breaks down. Your brain is in between contexts and has no way to resolve the ambiguity. In the backrooms, that liminality is infinite. There is no other side of the doorway. The transition never ends. And for a brain built to resolve uncertainty as quickly as possible, an environment that offers only endless, unresolvable ambiguity is genuinely intolerable. Now here's where it gets interesting. Because the backrooms didn't just describe a feeling. They became a mythology, and the way that mythology spread tells us something about how collective anxiety works in the internet age. After the original 4chan post, something remarkable happened. People didn't just engage with the image. They started building on it. Writers invented levels, interconnected layers of the backrooms with different appearances and different rules. They invented entities, hostile creatures that roam the spaces, never fully described, never fully seen. They built wikis, Discord communities, entire collaborative fictional universes, all expanding on a caption that was less than 100 words long. This is not how horror normally works. Horror is usually authored. Someone creates it, delivers it, and the audience receives it. The backrooms inverted that completely. The original post provided almost nothing. The terror came from what people added to fill the void, and what they added was almost always the same thing. Infinite space, no exit. Something in the dark that has heard you. The specific texture of being lost in a place that looks like it should be navigable and isn't. These aren't random creative choices. They're the exact fears that the neuroscience of liminal spaces predicts. People were essentially crowdsourcing their own amygdala responses, building, collaboratively, the most precisely calibrated version of spatial dread they could imagine. In 2022, a 16-year-old named Kane Parsons uploaded a 9-minute video to YouTube. It was a found-footage short film, grainy VHS aesthetic, first-person perspective, a person trapped inside an endless corridor of yellow walls and buzzing lights. He built the entire environment in Blender, a free 3D modeling program working alone. It took him a month. The video has 78 million views. What Parsons understood, what made his work stand out from thousands of other Backrooms videos, was the internal logic. He described his approach in an interview. I always try to stay away from the idea that the Backrooms is somehow a dreamy headspace thing, where, if you turn around, the room could have changed. It preys on the human brain's ability to map spaces and understand them. That sentence is more psychologically precise than most horror filmmakers manage in entire careers. The Backrooms works not because it's unpredictable, but because it's relentlessly, impossibly consistent. Every corridor follows the same rules. Every room connects to more rooms. The horror isn't randomness. It's the certainty that the space goes on forever, and that your ability to map it, the cognitive tool you rely on to navigate every physical environment you've ever occupied, will never be enough. 24 noticed. They signed Parsons to direct a feature film when he was 17. He became their youngest director ever. The film, released in May 2026, built 30,000 square feet of practical backroom sets, so large that the cast and crew sometimes got lost on them. So what does all of this actually tell us about the brain? The Backrooms tapped into something that predates the internet by a very long time. The specific quality of dread produced by empty transitional spaces, long corridors, abandoned offices, spaces that exist between functions, isn't a modern anxiety. It's a feature of how human spatial cognition works. We are built to read environments for information about safety, purpose, and social context. Spaces that provide none of those things don't just feel uncomfortable. They feel actively wrong in a way that's difficult to articulate but impossible to ignore. What the internet did was give that experience a name, a visual language, and a community. The Backrooms didn't create the fear. It just gave millions of people the vocabulary to recognize something they'd already felt. In a long hotel corridor at 2 in the morning, in an empty office building on a weekend, in any space that looks like it was built for human presence, but currently contains none. The reason so many people described feeling like they'd been in that furniture store before is because, in the neurological sense they had, not in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, but in the version of that space their own brain generates every time it encounters a familiar environment stripped of its context. The Backrooms isn't a place that exists. It's a description of something your brain does. And the reason it spread so fast and went so deep is that the moment people saw the image, some part of them already knew exactly what it felt like to be there. If that unsettles you, good. That's your amygdala doing exactly what it was built to do.